Hello everyone, today is July 23rd, it's a Monday, and I thought I'd give you a little video of what's growing here. For those of you who have not seen my last video, I'm no longer up in Canada at the farm, so there will be no more garden updates from that location. Right now I'm back at my family home where I grew up, and we have a small garden here, or my parents do, and I've planted a couple things in there as well as a couple other things, so I'll give you a little tour of that, and yeah, so let's go. First, here on the back porch we have a bunch of spider plants and ivies and what have you, and all the ivies, this one and then this one and that one and then the spider plants, those are all fourth generation, wow, not fourth generation, 4 years old, ones that I actually was able to have from Kempville, where I went to horticulture school. Here we have a small raised bed with herbs. These are actually dill from seed that I had this year, so that's dill, and we have thyme, rosemary, cilantro, chives, basil, sage, oregano, I think it might be Italian oregano, and parsley. And these two, which are actually hanging baskets, I planted just yesterday some more cucumbers, pickling cucumbers that I actually had in the garden last year. So I had some seed left over, so hopefully they germinate and we get some fall cucumbers. And in the same bed as the raised herb bed there, we have, this is a tomato. This is a determinate bush type. I'm not exactly sure the varieties. These are all, this as well as everything in the garden I'm about to show you for the most part was here before I came home, so I don't know the varieties. I didn't have a say in them, but this is a big one. We had a nice big, probably 2 pound, probably close to 2 pound tomato already off of this, but the rest of them, they're smaller. You can see them in there. But this is one plant, and it's doing fairly well for you know, this location. This here is one of those topsy-turvy deals my parents had, and when I came home about 5 or so weeks ago, this thing was you know, that long, maybe 1.5 feet, but over the past couple of weeks, because it's been so warm and I've actually been the one watering this and taking care of it for the most part, it's really grown. And you can see it's starting to get lots of little clusters of tomatoes or some down there, and there's lots of flowers all over the place. And we'll walk down here, and then this here is a hanging basket of some cucumbers I planted about 2 weeks ago. These are some of the Diva Cucumbers that Bobby, I think it's MHP Gardener from down in Virginia there, he sent me these seeds in the spring, which I planted a lot up at the farm. I have no idea how they are doing, but I planted some here for the fall, and I got 3 of them to come up, and they're doing well. And then here's the garden. It's a lot smaller than what I was used to. It's probably about maybe 15 feet, maybe closer to 20 by 30, 35 feet. And the reason why it's all fenced in like this is because of the deer. We used to have a 3-foot fence, 4-foot fence, 6-foot fence, and the thing is the deer would just jump over it and then they just mow everything down. But here there's some cucumbers that are still hanging on. This whole area was filled with cucumbers, but I ripped those out actually the other day, and I planted, actually yesterday, 3 rows of yellow bean from seeds that I saved last year, so they should be coming up, bush beans that is, should be coming up by the end of the week. And the cucumbers there, they're almost finished. They're not flowering too much anymore. And here, these are 3 rows of Hickok bush bean, green bush bean, that I actually planted from seed that I had, and they're doing amazing. And move on down here. Here are a bunch of different types of tomatoes. They're just starting to come on to start turning, but you know, once they start turning, you can probably pick tomatoes every other day or so. A couple of them there, probably about maybe a dozen or 15 plants. There's 2 back here. And then back here is some short rows of lettuce that I planted. Doesn't really like the soil, as you can tell. See how rocky it is, and it really needs to be amended with compost and other, you know, additives. But you know, that costs money. It's not, I don't have the luxury of having the compost in front of the barn as I did up at the farm. But anyway, here are some snap peas. which they're doing okay. I put up this little string here for the trellis because they were just laying down. So hopefully they'll come back once the sun hits them. We had a lot of rain, actually over 2 inches of rain over the past few days. So you know, things are still wet in here, and these need some sun to start drying out and to start climbing. And then in here you can see the remainder of the plants here, other than down there. These are peppers. They're okay. Again, you know, you can see the soil here. Look at how rocky it is. It's just, you know, but it costs money to amend this type of stuff. But there's pepper here, bell peppers. There's some cayennes. Oops, you can see it down there. Some cayennes, some jalapenos, what have you. They're doing okay. And then here is 4 eggplant. They're doing so-so. I don't really like eggplant, but they're doing, again, okay. Then here are actually some flats. 2 flats of lettuce. You can obviously tell the difference. And 1 flat of spinach I planted probably less than a week ago. And here we have some zucchini squash. There's only 2 left. There was 1 here and there was 1 there, but I ripped them out about, I think, 2 days ago because they were getting some squash vine borer, SVB, from those that say it. And this one I believe has it too, but I'm leaving it hang on because you can see how soft this stem is. So I guarantee, well, yeah, you can see it. Look at that. I guarantee they're in there. And it's something that, you know, from going to school and whatnot, and just, you know, gardening and learning on the Bayou forums what the borer actually does and what it looks like. You know, my parents are like, or my dad said, oh, it seems to happen every year. And I think it's a fairly common thing, especially if you're, you know, we're up here in the woods, so, you know, whatever's in the soil is what's in the soil. But it's just something. At least they got some production out of it this year already. If I would have more seed, I'd probably plant some more in containers and then set them in here. That's the goal for the cucumbers that I showed you over next to the house, to take those containers, and once they're big enough, I planted 10 seeds each just to see how many will come up. If all 10 do, that would be excellent. And I'll basically probably either just take the container and set it there and let them grow in that, or once they get a nice root ball, which will probably be 2-3 weeks, tip it over, dig a hole and plant them right in there, right in the soil, and then just let them spread, because by that time, 3 weeks, these 2 will be ripped out of here. These beans will be up and these will probably be out of here, so I'll have more room to plant some more things. You know, again, taking an overview shot of this, what I'd love to do next year, whether I'm living here or not, hopefully not, put to, you know, because the walls are up, so there's no sense ripping them down and making it any bigger. At this point, because we are in the woods here, there's shit, you know, there's trees all over the place. But to me, what I'd love to do with this, if I was able to, is make this into all raised beds. You could probably put a 3-foot bed there on either side, and then you could easily have 2 more 3-foot beds with walkways in between. But again, you know, it costs money, and then you got to get a couple tons of topsoil or soil, peat moss, you know, compost, whatever, to fill the beds up. But to me, like that eliminates the majority of your weeds problem. That eliminates 99% of the rock problem. And it definitely helps with diseases and pests and stuff, because you know, they can't just crawl right into the bed or right into the plants. They have to, you know, work their way into the soil. And if you put a barrier down or something, you know, there's ways that I've seen people do it, and I'd love to try it out with a raised bed system. So yeah, that's basically what my gardening is down to right now. So it's definitely very small. But my goal, hopefully over the next few years, or next year, is if I can find some good work and buy a place. And if I have a place, you know, it doesn't have to be a farm, even though I'd love to have that again. But have a place where I can make raised beds, because I think that's the way it's going to go. If you don't have the land or the machinery or equipment to till up huge acreage like I did up there in Canada, the next best thing is raised beds, because there's no tilling, or there's very light or little tilling. And as long as you top your beds up every year with some compost or something, you won't, you know, you'll be just fine as far as fertilizing and what have you. So yeah, that's the overview of what's growing here. Thanks for watching, and I'll give you an update probably in a week or two once there's other beans come up and to see what the cucumbers are doing. And yeah, so if you have any questions, again, feel free to leave them below. Comments are welcome. I know it's a bit of a shock for some of you that have watched my videos over the past, well, year and a half or so, but just the way it is. But thanks for watching. Until next time.